Do you know ball?
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 Do you know ball? Episode 41, ladies and gentlemen. We're back. Hope you guys are having a happy holidays. It's Christmas. You guys are seeing this on Christmas. Merry Christmas, everyone, for those that celebrate, right, Zach?
Merry Christmas. It's going to be a good podcast today filled with a lot of different topics. A lot of different things happen. We waited specifically because usually we have a tendency to post a podcast and then big news drops and we don't have it recorded. So
Yeah. Mhm.
we got a bunch of topics to go through today. But yeah, Matt, why don't you give us a little insight and
Mhm.
lead us into our first one?
Yeah, me and Pappy Claus here. We got a fun pod for you guys. So, without further ado, let's start with the first one. Cody Bellinger is now a New York Yankee. This was something that we all saw was going to happen a mile away. It was just a matter of when was it going to happen. All the Yankees had to give up was Cody Poteet, who was a pitcher that started a couple games for them, but he really wasn't a big piece in the team. And the Cubs, to compensate for Bellinger's pretty big salary, gave the Yankees an additional $5 million along with them. So, how does this change the outlook of the New York Yankees? Well, Bellinger, it was said that he was going to play center field, but now we know those reports are not true. But with the addition of Paul Goldschmidt, which we will get into, Bellinger is most likely going to be playing left field for the New York Yankees with Jason Dominguez in center. At least that would be my best guess. A lot of people like to talk down on Bellinger. Obviously, he's not the MVP player he once was, but I personally believe that he's still a very solid bat with a very high ceiling, and especially playing in Yankee Stadium. And he's even stated that he really wanted to play for the Yankees, per Scott Boris's comments. I think Bellinger is going to be a perfect fit in that Yankees lineup. He's no Juan Soto, but he's still a very good bat. And you add all the additions the Yankees have made this offseason, I think it's looking good for the New York Yankees.
Yeah, 100%. The Yankees are doing exactly what they set out to do. They're doing exactly what they set out to do, and that was they're getting all the replacements or getting a bunch of guys that help bring back that mentality that they could maybe run it back next year. They could maybe run it back to the World Series. They wanted to be competitive, and they did so by adding guys like Max Fried, obviously Devin Williams, getting Cody Bellinger, and then we'll get into it later, like you said, Paul Goldschmidt. But they want to compete. That was the whole purpose of these trades and these moves. And Bellinger definitely gets you one step closer. A few weeks ago when we were talking about like just Yankees moves and these list of names were coming out of the rumors or who they could possibly get. I was just sitting back like there's no way they get all of these people. And to me being proven wrong, they got all those people and
Yeah.
they're doing exactly what they set out to do. Bellinger is definitely going to be a crazy addition to that lineup. He's still got a good future ahead of him. He's still pretty decently young too. You got him for two years, 2 solid years. It's not just like a one thing, 1 year, one and done type thing with Bellinger. It's 2 years. You get multiple seasons of him, which is really good. Um, and he's still got a lot of pop left. He's got a lot of good years left. So I think it was definitely a good signing, or not
Yeah.
a good signing, good trade for the
Yeah.
Yankees. They gave up virtually nothing.
And
Um,
he's a Gold Glover too, and I think that's the one thing Yankees have been kind of lacking is good defense. So he'll bring some very solid defense wherever you put him.
yeah, 100%.
Better
You
than
know,
Soto, I'll tell you that.
definitely
Def
better than Soto defensively.
Defensively, yeah,
Defensively,
I,
definitely
I
better Soto.
I should specify defensively. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. But
Hmm.
there was rumors that they were far apart or not far apart. The money issue was a problem in getting the deal done.
Yeah.
And, we said it last week. You said it last week, saying that it wasn't a matter of if the deal was gonna get done. It was a matter of when the deal was gonna get done. And
Hmm.
I guess that's all they needed. I feel like this was a robbery from the Yankees. I don't know. Again, the Cubs, weird, very weird organization. I get that you're trying to shed money, but like you just got Kyle Tucker. Why would you look to trade Cody Bellinger? We said that many times on the last pod, but you know what? It is what it is. Really good move for the Yankees. They're heading in the exact direction that I think a lot of Yankee fans were hoping for. And they're not done. They still got probably one more bat to add, whether it be Bregman. I know there was rumors of Arenado, but that kind of got put to bed
Yeah, it got
earlier
shut
on.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, got kind of put to bed. So possibly Bregman. I could definitely see the Yankees getting Bregman. That would solve their third base problems. Jazz would be able to play second again, and that lineup is very capable of running it back to the World Series, 100%. But speaking of another powerhouse team, why don't we head straight into Jesus Luzardo and the Phillies? I'm skipping ahead a little bit. I know I
Okay.
jumped the gun a little bit,
They were
but I
talking
want
about the Red Sox for a second. I was like, powerhouse. Okay.
no, not the Red Sox. But we'll get
Okay.
into them too. Um Jesus Luzardo to the Phillies kind of caught me off guard. Phillies traded Starling Caba. I hope I said that right. Starling Caba.
Starling
Is that
Caba?
Starling Caba? Whatever.
They traded a 19-year-old shortstop. That's all you
Yeah.
need to know.
The Phillies traded a 19-year-old shortstop. Caba is now the third ranked prospect in the Marlins farm system. And Luzardo is expected to be the Phillies' fifth starter in that rotation, which is crazy because you think of their rotation, and they got Wheeler, they got Nola, they got Christopher Sanchez, they got Ranger Suarez, and then now to finish it all off, they got Jesus Luzardo. What a crazy trade for them! What a crazy move for them because that rotation's just pretty dominant. I don't know. I don't know what else needs to be said
Yeah.
on that. But I wasn't really expecting it because their GM Dave Dombrowski was
Hmm.
really like hesitant on moves this year. Like he stated that they weren't really going to change much, and I honestly agree. Like there was rumors, speculations of Alec Boehm being moved. I don't think the Phillies needed to do much. You know what I mean? Like they're already a good team. They didn't perform the way they should have last year, and that's okay. That was 1 year. You know what I mean? Like things can happen over the next couple months. They could lock in this next offseason and play again like the way they played last year too. Like they could get to the exact same spot. They're going to be in the playoffs every single year for the next couple years because that's just how good their team is constructed and that's just how good they are too. Um but adding Jesus Luzardo as that fifth guy now, just a crazy rotation. Like that's a dream rotation. Some people would kill to have that rotation right now. I know I'd kill to have that rotation. But
I know you would. Yeah.
yeah, but
Mhm.
crazy rotation. I don't know, Matt. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I look at this rotation. Well, first off, I was asleep when this trade went down. I woke up and I just saw like I don't know how I found out. I didn't find out through pass, and I found out through like a random fan account, and I was really confused. But then I put all the pieces together that Luzardo was traded to the Phillies. But anyway, I look at this rotation, and off the top of my head, I'm thinking, what's stopping this from being a top three rotation in baseball? Am I crazy for saying that? I mean, you have the Dodgers, you have the Yankees, and then could the Phillies be that third team possibly? Am I?
Possibly. I think you know what I think though
You
too,
got the
and this is no
Mariners are up there too, though.
the Mariners are up there, but I've heard rumors that they're potentially willing to ship away some of their guys like Luis Castillo.
I saw that too. Yeah.
So we'll see how that actually unfolds. But
Hmm.
I do think it is fair to say that the Phillies are top three rotation in the league.
Hmm.
But it could be honestly, it could be a toss up between them and the Yankees. Like it could be intermovable. Them from the Phillies to being 3-2,
Hmm.
or the Yankees being 2-3. Like
Yeah,
it could
that's
flip flop
fair.
back and forth because they're both pretty evenly matched, sorta. You got the two aces at the top, for both teams really, like Wheeler and Nola, and then Freed now with Cole. And then you just got the depth behind it to back it up for both squads. So I think they're
Mhm.
pretty evenly matched. They could flip flop back and forth, but it's definitely fair to say that the Phillies are obviously top three rotation in the league. And it's just
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting it either. We were working, we were
Yeah.
at work, and just got the bomb, the passing bomb that at like 9-10 o'clock in the morning, Jesus Luzardo was traded to the Phillies, which I guess
Yeah.
good for the Marlins too, because they now have their pretty decent prospect
Hmm.
back, and he is their
Yeah.
number third in their farm system now
And
too. So they did that, but
Luzardo was a name that was like rumored to get traded for so long too.
yeah.
Like, I know just from you, like I know the Mets have always been in on him.
Oh
Like
man.
He's been a name that's been, suggested for so long. I know even the Yankees took their fair shot at him a couple times, but you know,
Potentially trading. Yeah, I remember that. I remember those rumors with
mhm.
Glaber to just those straight up one for one.
there were a lot of rumors, yeah.
I
So
remember that.
Glaber's gone, Luzardo's gone. So hey, you know, Phillies get their guy at number five. They bolster that rotation, and as you said, the GM said that they most likely will not be in on any of the big guys. They might not do a lot this offseason. So for them, and they missed out on Crochet. I know a lot of people were really pissed about that. So hey, they get their lefty. It's not Garrett Crochet, but
It's good,
Luzardo can hold the
serviceable.
fort down. Yeah,
That's a
especially as your
great
number
fifth.
five.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that's a great fifth option. It's a
Hmm.
great fifth option.
Hmm.
But speaking of other people too that have bolstered their rotation,
Yeah.
we're gonna get into the Boston Red Sox and Walker Buehler. Walker Buehler signs a 1 year, $21-ish million deal. Um, and man, like that Red Sox rotation has gotten significantly better. Um, they got Bueller, they got Crochet, they have Brian Bello, they have Tanner Houck. I feel like I'm forgetting one. I definitely Cutter Crawford. There you go. That's the fifth one. Cutter Crawford. That's a lot better than what they had years prior. They
Hmm.
have their ace. Bueller has the potential to be an ace, but with injuries in the past and him kind of struggling to get onto the field, it just hasn't ended up like that. So Bueller has the potential to be an ace as long as he stays healthy. I think it was a pretty decent move. It's a good amount for 1 year, but you know what? It is what it is. He also
Yeah.
got a $2 million signing bonus.
Mm.
So that's something to keep track of. But
Yeah.
that's a really good move for the Red Sox. I feel like they've struggled so much in the past too with rotation and not having like key guys out there like aces, like certified aces. Like I know Tanner Houck and Cutter Crawford have been their kind of 1-2 punch, their aces over the past couple years, but they needed the legit guys. And they did that because they traded some guys in their farm system, in their lengthy farm system
Yeah.
for
Hmm.
Garrett Crochet. Got that guy, and then they added Bueller. I wanted the Mets to get Bueller, but hey, we're not living in a perfect world.
Hmm.
So good for the Red Sox. I don't know, Matt. They're in your division, so
Hmm.
you got to have some
Yeah.
opinion on this.
Well, I'm not scared of the Red Sox. I'm going to put that out there, but I hate how good of a signing this was for them. I think this is great considering that they were in on, Max Fried and they were in on Corbin Burns, but I guess that's not likely anymore. So for them to get Bueller for a 1 year deal, pretty much the qualifying offer, and it's a low risk, high reward signing for them. I think he's going to be great for them. And Bueller terrorized the Yankees in the World Series. So now, naturally he gets to terrorize them even more during the regular season. So I like this for the Red Sox. And with how weak the American League is, I would not be surprised if the Red Sox make a postseason push. I think they very well could be a wild card team. I still think that the Yankees are the best team in the AL East and just the American League in general. And that's not me trying to be biased. I just think as rosters are currently constructed, and especially with the Guardians getting potentially weaker and losing Josh Naylor, which we will also get into. I think the Yankees have solidified their self as the top team in the AL, but the Red Sox could definitely make a push. And we know that the playoffs are a crapshoot, so anything can happen. And I think that the Red Sox are looking pretty good with how young they are and their farm system as well. And them being in on Bregman potentially too, like that could be a very fun slash scary team for the foreseeable future.
100%.
Yeah.
Also, let's not forget the little mini signing that they did to add to a that sixth spot in that rotation, which was just a little mini signing, or I don't know. I think they traded for him, Patrick Sandoval.
Oh
That was
yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah. Forgot
another.
about that.
He's got some potential. I think with the right coaching, he could be a lot better. Obviously, he was in LA with the Angels. And he had his bright spots. He had his good moments. But he didn't have too good of a year last year. But it was a good little signing. It's a good sixth spot in the rotation. Like a good piece to throw around there. Maybe they use him elsewhere. Maybe they say screw it, we'll put him in the bullpen for a couple innings. You never know. But It was a little nice little signing. Yeah, they're definitely their pitching rotation is 100% a a lot better than it was years prior. And they did a really good job with signing and trading people to help build that rotation. So the Red Sox, they could put up a fight. They could potentially make a I don't want to say a deep run in the playoffs because adding to your rotation, I mean, if you have a solid rotation, it's a good thing. It's definitely a good thing. But I haven't seen them add too many bats. If they add Bregman, that's really where I'm gonna be like, okay,
Hmm.
we're looking at a new look Red Sox. But moving forward, the next free agent signing, kind of a light one, but one nonetheless. Big, can't say it, big something Jock. We're going Jock Peterson.
Say it, Zach.
Peterson, Jock Peterson joins the Rangers on a 1 year deal. I don't I believe how much was it worth, Matt? I think it was
Let me research. I think it was 2 years. Hold
I
on.
think it was 2 years. So I think it was a 2 year deal, like around like 30 something mil. 37 mil is what I'm gonna go with. I think that's the
It
correct
was uh t
number.
2 years, $37 million,
Right on the money. Okay. So,
and for primarily to hit off righties, I believe.
which is what he was used. So
Mhm.
again, let's just restate this. Jock Peterson was just sent to the Rangers on a 2 year, $37 million deal. Um, and hey, that's great. I mean, they're using him exactly what you said. They're using him to for varieties, which is what he was used for last year. They're using him for righties. Arizona did a great job doing that last year. They really brought out a different side of Jock. I mean, like the dude was putting up pretty decent numbers, right? Like I think he was batting like 280 with like 15
Yeah.
homers.
For as solid of a player as Jock is, I'm surprised he basically switches team every offseason. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm surprised that not many teams like look to lock him down for at least a few years or something like that, maybe. But I guess
Like,
the
yeah,
Rangers
like
did that
kind of how like Kyle
a little bit.
Schwarber kind of got locked down by the Phillies. Like, I
Yeah,
feel like I'm surprised Jock hasn't been locked down by a team, but it's great for the Rangers, because they traded, they traded their first baseman, and now Jock's not gonna be playing first base, but it's just great left-handed bat in their lineup now.
he's very good, very good. And again, like I said, Arizona unlocked a different side of him. I mean, like he was just mashing the ball against righties last year, and he could be a key little bat. You could platoon in at DH. So whichever, if there's a righty on the mound, obviously they're gonna go with Jock in the lineup, and he's succeeded. He's done well with it in the past. So I wouldn't put it past him that he could do it again all over next season with the Rangers. So it's just a nice little signing. There's not much else to really say. I mean, Jock Peterson, let's face it, is not like one of the biggest names on the market, but definitely a good acquisition by the Rangers. Can't knock them for signing him. But yeah, he'll be a good DH. And with that being said, another a different signing, but someone that returned to the Big Apple is Sean Manaea. Sean Manaea is back with the Mets. Um, 3 years, $75 million. Definitely a contract that may have you thinking, may have you questioning a little bit. Um, can Manaea do what he did last year? Can he be the same pitcher, or will he kind of get mashed around a little bit? Go back to that 5 ERA, or regress, just not be the same pitcher he was last year? Because you know what? Although he had a lot of success with the sidearm type deal last year, you can think about it as maybe like people have figured him out. Like they know what he's going to do, they know how to approach him, and he could get mashed around. So it's all about this deal is good if he could continue doing what he was doing, but
Mhm.
obviously if he reverts back to the old Shamanaya where he's just laying the ball over the plate, getting a lot of runs scored on him each game, then that's where the deal becomes bad and it's an overpay and stuff like that. But the deal did include deferred money, which you know I can't say we're shocked about that because the Dodgers have set the
Hmm.
president on it. But the deferred amount is $23.25 million.
Yeah.
Um, which is crazy, but it starts in 2035 and it ends in 2044, I believe. So does that mean that the window's open for maybe the Mets potentially signing some other pitcher, some other starting rotation pitcher? It I think it does, but you know what? Like I think honestly there's a bigger elephant in the room, and that elephant is obviously Pete Alonso. And I'll get into that next, but Matt, I want to hear your thoughts on Manaea returning to Queens.
Um, sorry. Meanea was kind of someone that kind of revitalized his career with the Mets, so I think as late of a signing it was like 2 a.m. maybe when it went down, 1 a.m. I think it's a match made in heaven because the Mets rotation is kind of decimated and you kind of need that guy back in the rotation. What is he going to be for y'all number two behind Senga?
As
I
it
don't,
sits
I don't
currently,
even know,
he is
man.
number two.
Okay.
I would love for them to get another guy to make him number
Mhm.
three, but that's a perfect world. I don't
Yeah.
know. I haven't heard too much besides they met with Roki, but that whole situation with Roki Sasaki is is kind of difficult because again, you got to keep in mind the international money that needs to be spent, and the Mets have like $6 million in international money. Roki's not going to be making too much. So yeah, it depends on a lot of things. But yeah, go ahead, continue.
Hmm. Yeah, so Manaya's a guy that you hope as a Mets fan can just stay what he was doing. Because after he made that little tweak in his mechanic, he was honestly lights out. He was one of the better pitchers in baseball. So you just hope that he can continue doing that for the next 3 years, and you hope that he doesn't kind of revert back to what he was before that little tweak, and then that $75 million contract starts to look like a bust. But I have faith in Manaya, and I think the Mets have a pretty solid pitching development. So. We'll see, man. But good for you. You got your guy back.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
happy for you. It's Christmas. I'm spreading Christmas joy. I would normally, talk a lot of crap about the Mets, but it's Christmas, man.
I appreciate it. It is Christmas, and
Hmm.
I'm super happy that they got him back. I cannot be more thrilled because he was such a key piece to our rotation last year. He was number one pretty much. He was the
Hmm.
number one spot in our rotation last year, and that team somehow stumbled their way into the NLCS. So again, I like him as as a Met. I loved him last year. I'm gonna love him for the next couple years. He's just gotta continue, doing his thing. As long as he continues doing his thing and he puts up decent numbers over the next 3 years, I got faith in him. I wanted Meanea back, I really did. So I'm happy that the Mets got Meanea back. Now, with that being said, just to touch on this real quick before we move on to the next topic, Pete Alonso. That is the biggest elephant in the room right now. The Mets are playing a very dangerous game of cat and mouse with him. Because you know what? Although the Mets I haven't heard anything about offers made to Pete. I haven't heard anything about progressing towards a deal. And Pete could be going somewhere else. Could be looking somewhere else because he could be like, you know what? Hey, the Mets are not even really trying to get. He's the last first baseman on the market. The Mets are not even trying to go really hard to get him right now. As I've heard, I haven't heard the rumors have been quiet. The deal progression information has been quiet. Everything, all information on Pete Alonso has been really mute. It's been
Hmm.
set to a mute, and that worries me because the Mets cannot, regardless of how much money they've spent, how much money they've put into the team by getting Juan Soto, the Mets cannot go into 2025 without a first baseman. And I get that there's other avenues they could possibly take. They could possibly trade for third baseman, or they could trade for a first baseman. Um, because they could either move Vientos to first and get a guy for third, or they could keep Vientos at third and get a guy for first base. Some guys that were floated around, I've heard one guy specifically, only that I've heard floated around was Ryan Mountcastle. But again, that could work. I don't know if I'd be, I wouldn't be unhappy. I'd like Mountcastle. He's not too old. He's a young guy, and I think he's got a lot of room to grow. Um, there's guys like that. There's guys like Arenado that was floated around where we could put him at third and then move Vientos to first. There was Bregman that was floated around where we could put him at third and Vientos to first again.
Hmm.
Anything that involves Vientos going to first, I'm kind of hesitant on because again, like he had some really good days at third base defensively, right? And then there was other days where he struggled and he couldn't make a play. So you really want him to get comfortable with that position, right? You don't really want to rock the boat and get him, a little nervous when going to taking on the field. But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't really want him to be moved to first base, but who knows? But they have to get Alonso back. It's time to put up the money and give him at least maybe close to what he wants just to get him back. And I'm surprised there hasn't really been any movement. Matt, are you at all shocked that you haven't heard really anything on Pete Alonso, especially considering the fact that he is the last first baseman on the
Yeah.
market, pretty
Yeah,
much.
no, I mean, I'm first off, it could just be a Boris thing. You know, you have like Corbin Burns and Bregman and Alonso. They're all Boris, right? Am I wrong?
I believe so, yeah.
So like, I don't think it's a coincidence. I just think maybe people are a little hesitant to work with Boris because they know his expectations are a little unrealistic, but that's how he makes his money. And I mean, the longer Pete Alonso waits, I think the more leverage the Mets will have because now like teams like the Nationals are out on him, right? They got low.
Yep.
Yankees are out on him. The Diamondback, like I'm just thinking of teams that just literally got a first baseman, and we have so many more first basemen to talk about. Like we have a whole first baseman bonanza coming up. You know what I mean? So it's like the longer he waits, the more I think it works against him. Um, I'm trying to think of a team. I've seen one thing. Maybe the Rangers can go after him. Maybe that's the only thing. And I
I
think
heard the
it
Mariners maybe were an option.
maybe the Mariners, but are they going to spend is the question. So it's going to be between one of those three teams. I always thought that he was going to go back to the Mets at the start of the offseason, but I also read a report that the Mets were in on Goldschmidt before he came to the Yankees. So that's a little concerning. Maybe the Mets are okay losing Pete Alonso, which we'll see, man. I'm not the Mets fan. I don't really care if Pete leaves. I don't know how you would feel, but
I look. Okay, so he didn't have too great of a year, but his not too great of a year was putting up 30 plus homers. You know what I mean? Like it. I want Pete back. Pete was again another created memories over the past couple of years. That I'll never forget, especially last year in the playoffs. We don't need to get into all that, but th something has to be done. And like you know what, like if you're not gonna go with Pete as your first baseman, like at least do something to get like to fill that hole in the lineup. You have to do something, right? Like something has to be done. So that's why I'm trying to see why this Pete market is just not moving. And partially, I think teams are pretty hesitant on all making an offer to Pete. Yes, because of the money, but also because he stated that any offer that he gets, he's going to go straight back to the Mets and give them a chance to match it, which could maybe, you know, alter the way some teams think about going out and getting him. And that's perfectly fine. Like you feel that way because, but I think it's just out of respect, um, to the Mets organization, everything the Mets have done for Pete and how the bond that the team and the player have. But something's gonna happen
hmm hmm
sooner rather than later.
yeah. So
Um,
we're on the topic of first baseman. We should probably go to the Bonanza.
We definitely should go to the Bonanza. I was just gonna get there, but yeah,
Yeah,
Matt, introduce our next topic.
I'm gonna go with the second guy first because that's what I feel like doing. All right,
Okay.
so the New York Yankees have officially signed former MVP Paul Goldschmidt to a 1-year deal. They have 4 MVPs on the roster. They're just gonna milk that as much as they can. By the way, I don't care personally, but they're gonna milk the hell out of the 4 MVP narratives with Judge, Stanton, Cody Bellinger, and now Paul Goldschmidt. So the biggest thing with this is the Yankees were very in on Christian Walker and Pete Alonso and maybe even Josh Naylor to a degree. I heard rumors of Yandy Diaz. Cody Bellinger was potentially rumored to play first for them, but we know that's not happening. The Yankees were in on almost every first baseman, and the way I see it is they chose to go with a stopgap. And I'm okay with Paul Goldschmidt being the stopgap because although he didn't have a great start to the year last year, he picked it up pretty good in the second half. So I'm okay with that. Another thing is next year's first base market will consist of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Munetaka Murakami. Now, I'm not saying the Yankees are going to get any of them, but I think they will be very much in on them. And I feel like they've kind of shown their hand. Like you're playing poker and the Yankees have kind of shown their hand. Because why else would you go for a 1-year contract in a first baseman? Especially because this first base market this year has been insane. The Yankees had so many options, but they choose to go the 1-year route and target that stopgap. And Goldschmidt's a pretty solid stopgap. He is 37, but obviously he's not going to be the first baseman for the future. They don't want to tie down that money for Christian Walker or Pete Alonso when you know that you have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Munetaka Murakami waiting on the outside looking in next year. So I think that is going to be the Yankees' plan for next year is to target one of those two guys to be the long-term first baseman. And this is all speculation, but it makes sense to me. It does. Going back on Paul Goldschmidt, like I said, as a Yankee fan, I don't hate the signing. I think there are better people, available. But if this whole stopgap thing and then target the 2026 free agency is the plan or 2025, whatever. I don't know how years work. If that is the plan to wait for next year, then I'm okay with that because I think Goldschmidt will get the job done. He seems like a guy that would be a good Yankee. Like he's a Hall of Famer, right? He actually took less money to be a Yankee. I think someone should take notes on that. I'm just saying. But anyway, he took less money to be a Yankee, and that just I just respect that, because I think he understands the importance of what it means to be in pinstripes, and I think he's going to be a great fit. And he's also friends with Aaron Judge. I know that Judge likes to bring on his buddies and bring him to the Yankees. That's why Verdugo was a Yankee. They bowed down to Aaron Judge. So whatever Judge wants, Judge gets. Paul Goldschmidt's a Yankee for 1 year. I like it. I like it, but the Yankees need more to do. So it's a very low risk, high reward as well. Because if for some reason Goldschmidt's age just starts showing and he turns into Anthony Rizzo and just cannot play baseball anymore, and you have to DFA him, it's no big deal because you can just slot Cody Bellinger in at first base. Like they have so much flexibility, and Cody Bellinger's versatility actually makes me like this signing even more. And you also have Ben Rice. Ben Rice could get a couple reps at first base every now and then. They might platoon the two, so we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I like the move for the Yankees, especially. I think, like you said, that they're setting up for the future. And although this first baseman market this year, was
It was
pretty
incredible.
lengthy. Was
It was
pretty lengthy.
incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was definitely something. I think they have the bigger picture in mind, and that is obviously, like you said, Munetaka Murakami and Vlad, both of them. So with both of them being free agents next year and being on the market, I think they have that bigger picture in mind, which is why I too, I'm like sitting back here thinking about the deal that was done. I'd be fine if that's their mindset and that's what they're gonna set out to do, especially with the next coming season. I'd be fine with having Goldschmidt as the first baseman for the Yankees. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like it's a very cheap deal. It's a 1 year deal, and you at the end of the day, you you're paying the same amount of money for a veteran guy as we kind of did last year with JD. You know what I mean? Like two different players, I get it, and two different positions, obviously, but you have a lot of flexibility too with the Bellinger and his versatility, how he could play the infield if need be. Ben Rice, obviously, in people in the house kind of options. You could even maybe for a couple games, because I know Cabrera's got versatility. Oswaldo Cabrera's got versatility around
It
the
does,
infield.
yeah.
So if you wanted to slot him in there as well, if age really gets up there and Ben Rice doesn't work out and you don't really want to move Bellinger, like you have options. It's a 1 year deal. It's nothing crazy. Um, and I think it's a pretty good deal. It definitely shapes up their team. And who knows if Goldie bounces back, then this could look like the steal of the century.
It
So
could.
that's why I compare it kind of this deal a lot towards like the what the Mets did with JD Martinez. Like he was really good in the beginning of the year, then kind of fizzled out towards the end. Maybe Goldie does that and helps you guys get better placement. Win the division, who knows? Has a bounce back year, plays the whole year and stuff like that. There's a lot of possibilities with Goldschmidt. I think it was a really good signing, though. I really do, truthfully. Yeah, we'll see what else the Yankees do. They're certainly not done. They have one more bat to add. They have one more piece to add, which is still kind of crazy because I feel like all I've been seeing, even though with all the news we just talked about, the Yankees have been very active. All have been really the major deals that have been made or major trades that have been made have mainly come from the Yankees. And there's still got a lot of other guys out there too. Um, that need to be signed. But with that being said, the
Yeah.
Yankees the Yankees are in a really good spot for next year.
Hmm.
Really good spot. Now, we talked about the first baseman market, and this is where we're gonna get into how it's pretty much decimated. It's only Pete Alonso left, and we've mentioned that. But Josh Naylor is now a Diamondback. How do we feel about that, Deej? How do we feel?
They got him for nothing, man. At least that's how I see it. The Guardians are one of the better development teams, so maybe they can develop Slade Sony to be this good guy, but I don't know. I truthfully don't know. I think that the Guardians are cheap and they just replaced him with Carlos Santana. I don't know. I know Guardians fans are pretty pissed, and I would be too. I would be too, but it's a steal for Arizona, and I love the urgency to just immediately replace Christian Walker. They lost Christian Walker, and we're like, you know what? Screw you. We're gonna get a younger first baseman, a
That's
more
what I was just
electric
gonna
first
say.
baseman, and good to them because now they stay competitive. They were just in the World Series 2 years ago. They just missed out on the postseason this past season, but with Naylor and a couple more moves or whatever, I think they could definitely slide in. They could definitely be a wild card team. They're not going to win the division because the Padres and Dodgers are going to be a force for the next decade at least. But they could definitely slide in as a wild card team. And I think that they should be just going balls to the walls and they should just keep adding to it. But Naylor to the Diamondbacks, like I said, they got him for nothing. At least that's how I view it. And I really liked it for them. And I was pissed the Yankees didn't do it. But I went into the whole Goldschmidt spiel. I'm okay with it. So good for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I honestly think that the Yankees move with Goldschmidt is a lot better position than the person that actually got Christian Walker and stuff like that. Like the team that actually got Christian Walker. So we'll get into that. But yeah, very urgent for the Diamondbacks to literally straight up automatically replace what they lost. That's not to say Christian Walker can't be good, can't still be good for the next couple of years, but he's getting up there in age, and they replace him with a younger, maybe could turn out to be a better version. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like Naylor's shown signs of being a really valuable piece to a team the past couple years, with the Guardians, and really came into his role. So who's to say that he's not going to take on an even bigger role now with the Diamondbacks? I think it's a very key, good signing for them, but. I wanna pivot from there to Christian Walker, which is the other half of this
Yeah.
puzzle, right?
Mhm.
So Christian Walker just signed a 3 year deal for $60 million with the Astros. Now, I like I like it, but I also don't like it. You know what I mean? Because like
Intriguing.
the Astros now have a completely different infield, right? Like they this 100% means they're out on Bregman. 100%
Yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah.
And we kind of knew that before this deal was done. Um, because they're just looking in a different direction besides Bregman. Like Bregman's done his time with the Astros. It's now time for him to put on a new uniform. And then I think that's how both parties feel. Um, but yeah, this is Christian Walker is going to be probably good maybe for 1 to 2 years, or he could
Mhm.
be consistent. It's really a toss up. He's getting up there in age, and
Yeah, yeah.
it could be difficult for him to really, just be productive, stay productive over the next
Mhm.
3 years. I think he'll be good this next season, but that's also not to say that, like I said, their whole infield is completely different. You know what I mean? Like they have Paredes and they have Walker now as their third and first baseman.
Yeah,
And I don't know. If I'm an Astros fan, I really don't hate that. I don't hate
yeah.
that. I
No,
really don't
yeah.
hate that. I'd just be a little bit concerned with the fact that you just signed Christian Walker to a 3-year deal. And you know what? He could stay very productive. He could be really key bat in that lineup. But 3 years for a player that's you'll probably have him till what is he like 36? I
He,
think he's either 36 or 37. I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 99% sure
right
he's.
now,
I think so.
no, he's like 34, big dog.
Really?
He's like 33, 34.
Here, let me
He's
let me
not
see.
that old. I thought you meant like at the end of his contract. No, like he's like 34 years old.
Are you sure?
Yeah, he's not 36. There's no shot. I was
Here,
doing
hold
my
on.
research on him. The Yankees were in on him.
Here, hold on. Let me
Yeah,
see.
he's 33 years
33.
old.
Oh
Yeah.
man. I have this is completely wrong. He'll be
So
36, 30, 37. He's still
hell
getting up there
nah.
in age.
Yeah.
He's still getting up. He'll be 36, pushing 37 by the time
Well,
his contract is over.
you can argue he's the best defensive first baseman in baseball too. So I mean, the Astros have that going for them as well.
Yeah, I would be pretty happy with their new look infield. I'd be very very happy with
It
the way
yeah,
it
it
looks.
it must suck to go from winning the World Series and then losing like what made you the Astros, like Kyle Tucker, Bregman, Springer, Correa, but you're getting you still have some talent. I mean, you have Jordan still, who's on a really good contract for what Jordan does. You still have Altuve. You have Paredes now, and now you have Christian Walker, and you still have Jeremy Pena. Like it's a very solid team. It's a very solid team, and there's a good chance that they could still win the AL West. I mean, the Astros are always inevitable. I mean, you do have teams like the Rangers who are. If the Rangers have a bounce back year, like last year was just an anomaly. If they have a really good year this year, I think that they'll win the division. But the Astros are still going to be competitive. I think it's a really good deal for Christian Walker. I mean, only 20 million a year. I think that's very good. But as you said, Bregman is 100% gone because you have Walker at first, Paredes at third, and it's the end of an era for the Houston Astros. And maybe it's for the best. Their owner's a little cheap. They can't spend that much money. It is what it is. You won 2 World Series or one with an asterisk next to it. But move on. You know, let the
Yeah,
sun set on a new era and just embrace it.
yeah. They're okay with moving on. I feel like they are. They're fine with going a different direction. And they're gonna be really good. Regardless of what they did with Tucker and stuff, they're still gonna be a really good team in the AL. They're gonna still probably be a playoff team. The only thing that would probably make them not a playoff team is maybe dependent on what they do with their rotation, because I've heard a lot of rumors that they're potentially willing to ship Framber
Hmm.
out of there, which could hurt them depending on who they get back. So we'll see. We'll see. But I think they're definitely, as it sits right now, they're definitely a playoff team. They're definitely contenders, and they're definitely going to be a problem in the AL. But yeah, it was a good deal. It was a good deal for them. Now, continuing on with this crazy first baseman market, because again, as we stated many times in this podcast, they're all gone pretty much, and even like trade wise, almost every person is gone.
Hmm.
Nate Lowe is now a Washington National, which takes the Nationals out of the race really for Alonso. Alonso was rumored to maybe be swayed into going to the Nationals, The Nationals are a fun team, and I like this move for a lot of reasons because I feel like the Nationals could be really good. They're going to be really good in the next couple of years. So they're only getting better. They're getting younger. They have Abrams, they have Dylan Cruz, they have James Wood, they have Jacob Young. They have so many good young pieces. Keibert Ruiz, who could still has a chance to blossom, even though he hasn't really been too great the past couple seasons, but still a lot of young guys. It's a fun Nationals team. It's a fun team to be a part of. I feel like they could be really good in the next coming years. And you know what? This is what happens. I mean, they won the World Series in what 2019.
Mhm.
Now they're looking to do something similar with a young talent and move that forward and progress that
Yeah,
into a team that's really competitive and really
yeah.
fun to be a part of.
Hmm.
Nate Lowe is a perfect option, and you know what? I really don't think they gave up too much for him. We'll get into the details real quick. Nationals trade Robert Garcia, which is a reliever with a five year team control. Sorry about that. A reliever that has 5 years of team control. It's I don't know. I don't think it's too much. I personally don't think it's too much for.
I think it's a I okay, so obviously the Nationals needed a first baseman, right? And as you said, I absolutely love the rebuild that they've been doing. I think they are going to be a very fun and scary team for years to come. Maybe not this upcoming season, but the Nationals, I hope that they're confident that they can lock Low up because I think he's a free agent in like 2 years. So maybe they're confident they can lock him up. I know they've been kind of going through first baseman ever since Zimmerman kind of retired. I know they went from like Josh Bell and they had Luke Voigt for like half a season because of the Juan Soto trade. So they've been kind of going through first baseman. Um, but what's it called? It is a you think of a lefty or not lefty, sorry. You think of a reliever just traded for Low, but Robert Garcia, I feel like not a lot of people are very familiar with him, and he is honestly a very good reliever with 5 years of team control, which in today's day and age, with how much pitchers are getting paid, that is a huge like that is a huge want. And especially for the Rangers, whose bullpen is one of the worst in baseball, you get a very good arm. And on top of that, if the rumors are true, they could just replace Lowe with Pete Alonso, and then you got a better looking team right there. So I like it for both teams because I don't think the Nationals need Garcia as much as the Rangers do. But I do think that Garcia is a lot of people don't see it, and that's fair because not a lot of people know who Robert Garcia is. I had to do research on it, but looking at it, it is a little bit of a hefty price that the Nationals had to pay. Um, and like I'm just thinking from a Yankee perspective because I know the Yankees were in on Low for a little bit too. Like that, Robert Garcia is probably more than anything the Yankees could have offered for Low, to be honest with you. So. I like it for both teams. If the Nationals feel that they can lock him up in 2 or 3 years whenever he's a free agent, then I like it because Lowe he's gonna be a good bat for them.
Yeah, he's young. He's young too. Fits that aspect of what they're trying to build right now, the younger generation. But dude, they could put up a fight. I don't doubt that. Like James Wood came up last year. James Wood and Dylan Cruz came up last year towards the end, right? So and they showed signs of superstardom. Like they showed that they have a lot of talent there, a lot of potential there. And they could mess around and be a competitive team with the guys they got, but it meets it. This move was actually so well fitted that I don't know. It has me taken back a little bit because like you look at the lineup now and you look through the 1 through 9 and it's not something that's terrible. I mean, it's been terrible for the past couple of years, but you got something special growing in Washington. So as long as they could keep with this kind of young youth movement and the stars that they got keep blossoming into like just better talent. They also got Luis Garcia Jr., who's pretty good at second base. Hey, the sky's the limit. But I think it was a good move for the Nationals, truthfully. Um, So with that being said, we're at our final topic of the day. A little bit of a lengthy pod today, I know, but this last guy is the was literally the last move for the first base market. And that's Carlos Santana. The Guardians kind of went the cheaper route, and like you said before, you think that the a lot of the Guardians fans would be pissed. I'd be pissed if I was a Guardians fan too, because this I think is a complete downgrade, a complete and total downgrade from Josh Naylor, and I can't really wrap my head around why they would do this. So Matt, you fill us in a little bit more.
Hmm. Yeah, so Carlos Santana, this is his third stint with the Cleveland baseball team. They were called something else in his earlier stints with them. I'm not gonna say it because we have abolished that name. That name is no longer. They're the Cleveland Guardians. So this is his third stint with the Cleveland baseball team. He's making $12 million. My biggest question is, can he keep the magic alive? He's like 38 years old, and he's racing against time. Like he's going the opposite way. He's still a very solid bat. And last year with the Twins, he wasn't anything great up until he fixed his swing a little bit. I think it was like a little step in his swing that he fixed. And ever since that point, Santana has been a very solid bat. And I mean, the Guardians, they can't really pay people, right? The fact that they got, for example, Jose Ramirez on the deal that they got is impressive, right? They couldn't give Lindor what the Mets gave him. So when their players are nearing that point where they need to get a contract, they have to ship them off. They don't have a choice. They can't pay them. So they did the same thing with Naylor. He's gone. Um, and now the Guardians have Carlos Santana. But if I'm not mistaken, I need to do some research real quick. I don't think this should be as big of a blow to them. Yeah, they have Kyle Manzardo, and he is most likely going to be the first baseman of the future. So I don't think it's necessarily as big of a blow as we might think. Although I don't like the trade, I think they maybe could have gotten more. You have Manzardo just kind of waiting in the wings to just be the everyday first baseman for the foreseeable future. So it must suck we're kind of spoiled because we're Yankees and Mets fans. Like we have pretty rich owners and they can just kind of get whoever they want when they want. It's just, do they feel like getting them? You know what I mean? So I do feel a little bit bad for Guardians fans having to kind of go through this same process every single year. But the one thing with the Guardians in Cleveland is that they always find a way to be competitive. They have one of the best development staffs in the entire league. Like they develop pitchers, they develop hitters. Like Guardians play a different brand of baseball. They're not the team that's going to be hitting, home runs and making these electric plays. They're more of like a high school baseball team. And that's not me throwing shade, but they literally do the little things. They field really well. They get on base. They slap singles. They bunt. They do the little things in baseball, and that's kind of how they have to identify themselves, just given the situation that they have with ownership and their roster. So, I don't necessarily think it's the end of the world trading Josh Naylor and replacing him with Santana, someone who's already familiar and, you know, known by the Cleveland fandom. But, it is a little bit of a punch in the gut.
It definitely is. It
Mhm.
definitely is. And you know what? Like you could look back on this move, and you know what? Maybe you look back and smile because if Kyle Manzardo is their first baseman for the future, which he probably will be, and he turns into a really really good talent. You look at it and you just smile. You know, like 'cause there's not much you can do. Like if they're in the same loop every time a player needs to be paid, and as long as it works out, it will work. It works out. You know what I mean? Like there's not much else to say on the matter. I mean, Carlos Santana, he could be a pretty good platoon bat, whether they decide to float him around with DH or put him at first base for a couple games. Um, yeah, like you said, it's the third stint with Cleveland, and he's only making what like $12 million, like we said. So it's at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world, but like I would have liked them to see them keep Naylor. If I'm a Guardians fan, I would like to see them keep Naylor. Like
Mm.
that would have been better. They would have been better off with that instead
Yep.
of Carlos Santana. But
Hmm.
sometimes that's not how it works. So again, that wraps up the episode 41 of our podcast here. Super excited with the trajectory and where we're going. Um, we've grown with a lot of subscribers the past couple days. Just keep it up. I appreciate we both appreciate all the love and support we've been getting on all platforms. So new videos will be out throughout the next couple weeks, but go go spend time with your families. Maybe put this on while you have some Christmas dinner and listen to some baseball
Yeah.
talk.
Enjoy some beautiful eggnog and gingerbread cookies, and do not get coal in your stocking.
Yeah, yeah. And have a Merry Christmas, and we will catch you guys in the next one.